For 200 years, we have worshipped a single book, The Origin of Species. We are told that life on Earth is a closed system, a singular, lonely experiment. We are told that every living thing, from the moss on a rock to the person watching this screen, is a cousin, descended from the same primordial soup, evolving slowly, blindly, over 4 billion years. It is a beautiful story, a story of unity. But what if the story is missing a chapter? What if the tree of life is not a single tree? What if it is a garden? And what if some of the seeds were thrown over the fence from somewhere else? Hidden within the biological catalog of our planet are organisms that defy the logic of terrestrial evolution. Creatures that possess biological superpowers that no other animal on Earth has developed. Creatures that can rewrite their own genetics. Creatures that can survive the death of the sun. Creatures that effectively never die. Modern science calls them evolutionary novelties, but the zero-point lore suggests a different name. We call them biological artifacts. Today, we are not looking for aliens in the sky. We are looking for them in the mud, in the ocean, and under the microscope. We are opening the impossible archive on 5 species that possess DNA so strange, so advanced, and so alien that the only logical explanation might be the one science is terrified to admit. Case file number 1, the octopus. Look at this creature. Really look at it. It has 3 hearts pumping blue, copper-based blood. It has a decentralized brain with 2/3 of its neurons located not in its head, but in its arms. It can taste with its skin. It can solve complex puzzles. It can recognize human faces. And it can change the color and texture of its skin in milliseconds. A biological cloaking device that military technology is still decades away from replicating. If you met this creature on a moon of Jupiter, you would not call it an animal. You would call it a monster. But the true mystery of the octopus is not its body. It is its history. In the fossil record, the cephalopods, the family of the octopus, appears suddenly. About 270 million years ago, they undergo a massive, unexplained explosion of complexity. They go from simple, shelled mollusks to intelligent, large-brained predators almost overnight. Where did this intelligence come from? Evolution is supposed to be slow. Nature does not usually invent a Ferrari engine and put it inside a snail in a single step. The answer may lie in the code. In 2018, a team of 33 researchers from top universities around the world published a paper that broke the internet and then was quietly ignored. The paper was titled Cause of Cambrian Explosion, Terrestrial or Cosmic. Their conclusion regarding the octopus was staggering. They noted that the octopus genome contains 33,000 protein-coding genes. That is more than a human. But specifically, they looked at the complexity of its brain, and they wrote this. It is plausible then to suggest that these new genes are borrowed from the future. They proposed that the rapid evolution of the octopus was caused by cryopreserved squid and/or octopus eggs arriving in icy bolides, comets, hundreds of millions of years ago. This is the panspermia theory in its most literal form. They are not saying the octopus is an alien. They are saying it is a hybrid, a terrestrial mollusk infected, upgraded, and mutated by genetic material raining down from the stars. And consider this ability. RNA editing. Humans cannot change their genetics. We are stuck with the cards we're dealt. The octopus can reshuffle the deck. It can intercept the commands from its DNA and rewrite them before they build proteins. It can literally patch its own software to survive in new environments. Is this a natural adaptation, or is it the design feature of a biological probe meant to survive on any world it lands on? Case file number 2. The immortal jellyfish. We accept death as the price of life. It is the second law of thermodynamics, entropy. Order inevitably degrades into chaos. Machines break, buildings crumble, bodies age. But there is one organism that has looked at the laws of physics and said, no. Teratopsis dohrnii, a tiny bell-shaped hydrozoan. It is the only known animal in the history of our planet capable of complete biological rejuvenation. When a butterfly comes out of a cocoon, it can never turn back into a caterpillar, but Teratopsis can. When it faces starvation, physical damage, or old age, it triggers a process called transdifferentiation. This is not healing. Healing is repairing a cut. This is re-becoming. Its cells lose their identity. A skin cell forgets it is skin. A nerve cell forgets it is a nerve. They revert to a stem cell state, the raw clay of life. The creature physically shrinks. It absorbs its tentacles. It falls to the ocean floor, and it becomes a polyp colony, a baby. From that colony, genetically identical clones are born. The same individual born again and again and again. This cycle has no built-in limit. Biologically, this creature is immortal. If you do not eat it, if you do not crush it, it will never die of natural causes. Why does this exist? Evolution favors reproduction, not survival. Once an animal passes on its genes, nature usually discards it. Why did nature create a creature that keeps the individual alive forever? Unless this creature was not designed by nature's rules. Is Teratopsis a legacy organism, a leftover from a time or a place where entropy did not work the same way? Or is it a biological key, a proof of concept that immortality is physically possible if we can just crack the code? Case file number 3, the tardigrade. If you wanted to build a biological machine to survive the apocalypse, you would build the tardigrade, the water bear. They are everywhere, in the moss in your garden, in the deepest trenches of the Pacific, in the volcanoes of Antarctica. But their resilience is not just impressive, it is suspicious. We have subjected these creatures to tortures that would sterilize a planet. We have frozen them to almost absolute zero, the temperature where atoms stop moving. We have boiled them to 150 degrees Celsius. We have subjected them to pressure 6 times greater than the bottom of the ocean. And most terrifying of all, we have exposed them to the vacuum of space. In the European Space Agency's Photon M3 mission, tardigrades were exposed to the vacuum and the full ionizing radiation of the sun for 10 days. Back on Earth, they were rehydrated. They stood up, they walked away, and they reproduced. They do this by entering a state called a ton. They expel 99% of the water in their bodies. They replace it with a unique protein that turns their insides into a bioglass. They pause biology. They pause time. But the zero-point question is, why? Evolution is a response to environmental pressure. You evolve fur because it is cold. You evolve gills because you live in water. What environment on Earth requires you to survive the vacuum of space? What predator on Earth attacks you with ionizing solar radiation? None. These adaptations are completely useless on Earth. They are over-engineered. And it gets stranger. In 2021, researchers claim to have quantum entangled the tardigrade with a superconducting qubit. For a brief moment, this living creature became a quantum object, existing in a state of superposition. A creature that survives space, a creature that survives quantum states. Is the tardigrade an Earth animal that got lucky, or is it a microscopic astronaut, a traveler that evolved on a world with no atmosphere, blasted by radiation, and hitchhiked here on a rock billions of years ago? Case file number 4, the lungfish. Sometimes, the anomaly is not what a creature can do. It is what a creature knows. The lungfish is a living fossil. It has looked exactly the same for 380 million years. It watched the dinosaurs rise. It watched them die. It watched the mammals take over. And through it all, it refused to change. But hidden inside its cells is a secret. The genome of the South American lungfish is massive. At 90 billion base pairs, it is nearly 30 times larger than the human genome. Why? Why does a fish that lives in the mud need a genetic manual 30 times longer than the species that went to the moon? Scientists call this junk DNA. Transposable elements, genetic debris that copies itself over and over, bloating the code. They say it is useless. But Zero Point Lore asks, is it? In computer science, when you write a critical program, you include redundancy, you include backups, you include code for every possible error. What if the lungfish is not just a fish? What if it is a genetic arc? Consider its abilities. It can breathe air. It can walk on primitive limbs. It can regenerate lost tails and fins with perfect accuracy, using the same genetic pathways that humans use as embryos, but then lose. And it can survive in suspended animation, baked in dry mud for years without water. It carries the toolkit for life on land and the toolkit for regeneration. It carries a massive, redundant library of DNA. Is the lungfish a backup drive for the planet? A species designed or evolved to carry the source code of life through the worst extinctions this planet can throw at it? Case file number 5, the platypus. And finally, the joke. The platypus. When it was first discovered, scientists thought it was a hoax, a taxidermist's prank, a duck's bill sewn onto a mole's body. But the platypus is real, and it is the ultimate chimera. It lays eggs like a reptile, it nurses young like a mammal, but sweats milk from its skin. It has a beak, but hunts using electroreception, a sixth sense, sensing the electricity of muscle movements underwater. And recently we found out it glows. Under UV light, its fur fluoresces a bioluminescent green, a trait found in almost no other mammal. But the fracture point is deep in the nucleus. Humans have 2 sex chromosomes, X and Y. The platypus has 10, 5 X's, 5 Y's. When these chromosomes align during reproduction, they form a complex chain. And parts of this chain match the genetics of mammals. Parts match the genetics of birds. And parts match nothing at all. It is a genetic patchwork, a puzzle. If we were to look at this through the lens of the ancient astronaut theory, the platypus does not look like evolution. It looks like an experiment. It looks like someone took the spare parts of the animal kingdom, the beak of a bird, the venom of a snake, the fur of a mammal, the egg of a reptile, and spliced them together to see if it would work. And the terrifying thing is, it did work. The platypus has survived for millions of years. It is a Frankenstein's monster that outlived its creator. The octopus, the jellyfish, the tardigrade, the lungfish, the platypus. We call them nature, but they do not follow our rules. They possess codes that are too complex, abilities that are too resilient, origins that are too sudden. The official story says they are just lucky rolls of the evolutionary dice. But the math, the probability, suggests otherwise. If the panspermia hypothesis is true, then we are not alone. We never have been. The aliens are already here. They are swimming in our oceans. They are hiding in our moss. They are on our dinner plates. And if life can fall from the stars and take root here, what else is falling? What else is waiting in the ice, waiting to thaw? The next time you see an octopus, look into its rectangular pupil. Look at the intelligence burning behind it and ask yourself, are you looking at a cousin? Or are you looking at a castaway from a world we can only imagine? I am 0 Point Laura. We explore the biology they don't want you to classify. Which of these 5 creatures do you believe is the true alien? Let us know your theory in the comments below. And subscribe, because the tree of life is about to get a lot more complicated.